Howdy, I'm Kelsey, and the resource that I chose to do is the Cult of Pedagogy podcast. It was created by Jennifer Gonzalez. She was a teacher for 8 years in a middle school ELA classroom. So what is it? They're episodes that vary in length. Some are as short as 14 minutes, others as long as 1.5 hours. They cover mainstreamed ESL students, plagiarism, educational technology, common teaching problems, and more. And there's at least 130 podcast episodes to choose from. A few episode examples are When You Get Nothing But Crickets, A Few Ideas for Dealing with Late Work, Is That Higher Order Task Really Higher Order, and Power Lesson Note-Taking Stations. If it has to do with teaching, the Cult of Pedagogy is talking about it. It's not just limited to reading IEPs or parent-teacher conferences. Costs and where to find. It is completely free. There are sometimes a few advertisements at the beginning, but that's about it. And I love it because there are resources contained throughout the episodes, and the resources will sometimes be posted on the website or they're just linked in the podcast episode. If the resource is something that has to be paid for, there's typically a discount offered through the show. You can find it on Apple Podcasts, Android Podcast Player. I like that because I can speed it up a little bit, and online on cultofpedagogy.com/pod, and this is also an active link. What and how to use it. So what can I get from the Cult of Pedagogy are tips on how to add movement in the classroom, your appearance, how to lead in the classroom, reestablish your power, some strategies such as note-taking, graphic organizers, tools, is your rubric good, are your grades accurate, history, what's a Grecian urn? A Grecian urn is something that takes a lot of time in the classroom, such as a really beautiful project, but then the students don't get a lot of content out of it. Equity in the classroom, support students of color, mom of autism, ESL teachers, and cultural awareness, what are the misconceptions, and welcoming classroom. Some examples of some episodes that I've listened to are, is that higher order task really higher order? Some common mistakes that people make are thinking it's analyze when it's actually the understand level, thinking a task is create when it's actually the remember level. Another episode is a few ideas for dealing with late work. So one is just don't accept it at all. Another is don't accept it after the unit test because your goal is to have the students learn the information for the test. Another is 10% off the first 3 days, 30% off up to a week. And another is if it's late, don't give them feedback or allow revisions. And another episode that I listened to is Power Lesson Note-Taking Stations. So if a teacher in a science class noticed her students weren't taking notes effectively, so she set up stations with different notes throughout a chapter. So pages 1 through 5 did Cornell notes, pages 6 through 10 did graphic organizers, and so on. And that helped them learn how to, what sort of notes were best suited for them. And the instructions on how to use the Cult of Pedagogy. It's super simple. 1, you download a podcast listening app. 2, subscribe to the Cult of Pedagogy, choose an episode to listen to, and repeat. And why I chose this resource. It's super easy to use. There's a bunch of different topics to listen to. Over the summer, I started listening to it because I didn't have time to read a lot, so I wanted to just listen to something that was beneficial to me, so I chose a podcast, and this was one that I chose because I felt like I'd heard it from someone, and I put it on, and I just kept listening to it. And I wanted others to see the benefits and resources, so I shared it with you guys. So how does this transfer over into the classroom? This transfers over in so many ways because, like I've shared with you guys, it's not just one sort of category that it fits. It gives you a bunch of different information. It's strategies and tools, and ideas for note taking, late work, crickets in the classroom, diversity. If you're not sure if your classroom is diverse, well, you should listen to it anyway. And whether your information is specific that you're choosing, like say I wanted to listen to a note taking episode and then I accidentally listened to one on equity, well, it's probably not a big mistake because it's gonna be a good episode and you're gonna gain something from it. So I think whatever you listen to is gonna benefit you in the long run. Thank you.